Hello everyone, welcome back. From Bilge Adam Teknoloji, game developer Ümit Sonar will be with us. He'll be talking about hyper-casual games, visual improvements, and unique phosphorus effects. He will be offering us a short workshop for that, so now we will be inviting him. Hello, Ümit Bey, welcome. Thank you. How are you? I'm good. How about you? I'm doing all right. Thank you. So once you're ready, we can start. You can hear me, right? Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Ümit Sonar. For about 3 years, I've been working at Bilge Adam. I'm a game developer. We develop hyper-casual games with Bilge Adam. So we have been working on their bags at Bilge Adam. What is bags? It is an initiative concentrated on hyper games and hyper casual games. So far, it has developed hyper casual games and it will continue to do so at BAX. What do we do? We will be talking about what are hyper casual games and why do people play those hyper casual games, and why does that category take a large share, almost 70% in the market? And I will be talking about post-processing effects and features. Let me start with hyper casual. Hyper casual games for about 3 years do dominate almost 70-80% of Google and Apple stores. So the reason for people to play hyper casual is, well, for one thing, it has many plus points for companies. The first thing is income. It really brings about good income. The second reason is that it can be easily prototyped and multiply played for multiple times. So the third reason is that the project game can be consumed rapidly so that you can build a better one. You can benefit from current agenda and then adapt accordingly. So, how do we design? So, the players, 90% of those players, users, are coming from the advertisements commercials. That's why it is important to build some games for them, for such users. Let's go over a scenario. First, you need to make sure that the user downloads the game. And in that commercial advertisement, it should stir up some curiosity. The player should question what's this game like and what will come after it. So, with some good visuals, images, you need to make sure that the user is curious so that the person downloads the game, is curious, and downloads the game. And then they will start playing. And how to retain the players. Well, people have started playing, people of all ages, age groups. That's why the games should be clearly understandable and simple for every group of age. So, in other words, a kid at the age of 10 and an adult at the age of 65 should be able to play the same game. So we should do that using the right mechanics, simple mechanics, good visuals, colors, and images. And we need to make sure that the game is as simple as possible. For hyper casual games, this is one of the most important aspects. And if the once the player downloads and now understands how it is played, move ahead. And how do we move ahead? The mechanics. Will the user, the player, be able to understand the game's mechanics? So who am I? Who is the enemy? What kind of a road will I follow in this game? So this should be done, and I should be able to explain it to the user, to the player, in the best and clear way possible. So this is one of the most important points about hyper casual games. So after doing that, to retain the user, I need to make the game a fun one. What do I mean by fun or entertainment? So it can differ from one person to the other. So the factor of entertaining depends. Someone might find what I find amusing or entertaining, and some other person might not. That's why we need to come up with common grounds to make it a fun game. For example, the particle effects or the fume, the smoke over here coming, some pieces scattering around from the tire of the car, from the wheels. And here you can see that uh, this figure here jumps up and down and many other animations so that we can make those games more fun. And the next thing is to make sure that these are rewarding. As I said before, they're now almost 70, 80% of share for these hyper casual games. The number of the players are high, and every day there are hundreds of hyper casual games launched into the market. So to be able to retain the users, the products, those games must be rewarding. What do I mean? By rewarding. So I will make the user to collect money or gold or coins along the game so that the user should be able to see that he or she can do something. There should be a rewarding and awarding mechanism so that they will come back, buy new wars, new weapons, new clothes, new items, and so on. So let me give you another example. As you do combos and move up in the levels, as you can see, awesome, perfect, or good, like um, texts would appear so that the user will enjoy playing that game and that they continue playing it. So, as we design our hyper casual games, it is crucial to pay attention to these five issues. So, the most important thing is to make sure that it is simple, simple, and simple. So here you can see there are some animations is flipping over. So it gives the one playing it some kind of a good feeling. And as I said before, awarding, rewarding is an important part of casual games. So this is how we plan and how we materialize our hyper casual games. And you can also do the same and upgrade your hyper casual games always. So for hyper casual games and also for casual games, we have some post processing. What is post processing? It is about bringing the game, the design of it to a certain degree, and then we are done with the mechanics. We are at the final stages. So these are the procedures, the processes at the end. So these are some final touches. You can come up with higher quality graphics, lighting setting and filtering. You can see the raw version of the game, and this one is the post-processed version. A better look. The dark sides are highlighted, and the shadows are more clear, so you can see the image more clearly. So I'll be talking about post-process effects. We have about 12 of them. I'll be talking about those. Uh, and I'll give you some examples. Anti-aliasing. This is an effect that is needed for almost every game. This is actually not an effect, but a feature. It helps you to smoothen the edges and more a smoother look it gives. Here you see that anti-aliasing is applied on the one that is on the right hand side. Here you can see the sharpness. It helps you soften the sharpness. So here you can see sharper edges and the getup of the player. That character here is sharper, but on this image you can see a smoother image on the edges and so on. So this is anti-aliasing. It optimizes the image. So the other feature is depth of field. Depth of field. It is the resolution of a camera for some objects of a certain distance. I can ask the system to make some images, some objects look blurry, and some others more clearly. It helps the player focus on some certain spots or spaces in the game. Let's say I play the game and I move ahead as this character, but which road, which side should I take, here or there? So when I was talking about hyper casual, main aspects of hyper casual, I talked about it being simple and well guided, so that the user, the player, feels at ease. So if I play as such an object here and show very clearly, then this person will not go to the other side. So that's why I need to position this object in a better place, or maybe make it more blurry and ensure that the user follows the right track. So one way to do it is depth of field. In post-processing, you can use this depth of field. Here you can see the one applied and another image that is not applied with depth of field. So this is an object and it's blurred, and it will help the user not concentrate on this object, and it will continue to walk this character here. So it will make sure that the game is simpler. So this is uh, generally the presentation. Now let's go to the game. But before we go to the game, let me remind you one more thing. So the post-processing is done over projects that have been brought up to a certain degree or a certain level, or the projects that are complete. So this one is a complete project. This one is a tutorial project for by Unity. I go to Unity Hub and you can get access to it over Learn, the section Learn. There are many projects that will help you learn. You can download and always practice. So it will help you if you download these projects and move along, because it teaches very properly how code writing is done. So this is, it says open project as I have already downloaded it. So if there's any other you haven't downloaded, it will say download it first, and then you will open it up. And after you put it on the screen, this is what you will see. This is the stage, if you will, and here are some effects. You will see on the game screen what effects I applied. Here, before I start post-processing in a Unity, I see that the post-processing package it is supposed to be uploaded. It's generally there, but if it's not, then you can go to Window and Package Manager and Post Processing. There you will see the install. So you can install it if it's not installed in your system. So it's already in my system. Anyways, after this post-processing package is installed, then we will step by step follow the procedure. First, I will have to have an empty object. So I right click, I say create empty. So I can create an empty object, or I can go to the game object menu and again say create empty. So I will use only one of them. So I delete the other. I can rename it. So I'll name it post process. Here is the hierarchy. It doesn't matter where it is on the stage. Is so the rotation, the position is now uh, brought down to zero. Reset. So I added to the post process section. Now I can go to the camera and add a configuration. So here is my camera. I can come to my main camera and I will add the post-process component layer. So the post-process component layer is now added, but there's this warning. It asks for a layer. It says there's no layer. So for my effects to work, I need to work on a layer, and there I can choose a layer from here, or I can go up here and say add layer, and then I can add a layer for post process. So if you don't have a layer, you can go, as you know, these are layer by layer. You can go to another layer, any layer, and say post process, give it a name, and then you can create a post process layer. So after I create that, I go to the layer side of my camera and the post process layer. Now you can see that I have the created post process layer accessible there. And to equalize it to the game object, for them to recognize one another, they need to function, they need to be able to run um, in the same layer. Now, the camera and the game object recognize one another, and the effects I have created will overlap and they will co-run. They will run smoothly together. But before I go to the effects, I need to do anti-aliasing. As I talked about it before, it means smoothening the edges. So there are three options: FXAA, SMAA, and TAA. FXAA is the one most frequently used. So if it's a, a product, a game that we use on mobile, it will help us do some smoothing. Here, anti-aliasing, I turn it off. Here you can see that it is very sharp. It doesn't look nice. But when I go to anti-aliasing and choose FXAA, here you can see it's smoother, it's better. The edges are not that sharp, but they're softer. So SMAA is another option. I can go there and see the objects on the stage. Depending on their type or form, the system perceives their form, and after mathematical processing, it applies edge smoothing. So it gives sharper results as compared to the other two. And TAA is using the cache of the laptop or your mobile. It is an edge smoothing system. The results are similar to the other, but FXAA is generally applied on open world maps. Maybe in some images where there are large areas or large stages. So I use FXAA if it's not too much of a movement. So it spends less on your REM. But if my stage, yes, it can be large, but if there is a moving object, I use TAA. Why? Because this character. First, it takes it to the memory, it softens the edges, and then it does not apply the edge smoothing over and over again, but helps you move along. So I will now apply FXAA and then proceed with other processes. So now let's come to post processing effects. Here, we first, as I said before, need to add the post-processing layer component to the camera. And then we added the layer from here, and the game object created are now connected to layer, is now connected to the layer. And I again type here post, it says post process volume component. So this is the post process volume component. This is a component we need to apply on our um, effects. There are two important things here. One is a profile. We need to create a profile for us to apply, add all these effects. So I can go to this section, new, and I can create my profile, and it has automatically created a profile. Or here I can right click and go to create a post processing profile, and this is how I can create a profile. As you can see, it is possible to create your profiles in two ways. So when I go to new, it will create automatically a profile under my game object. So this is my post-processing profile. What does it work for? Well, it works for that. The effects I will add. So I will add those effects, and those effects, if I would like to use them in other stages, in other scenes, I can, of course, use them in other scenes. So all those effects, I can use them for some other games, so I can really easily and rapidly, in a fast way, use those. And another option, let's say that I added the effects, but it didn't run, it didn't work. So if it does not, it is about is it because is global maybe. Uh, so I need to tick that box over here, and when I also tick that, you will see that in the scene. So let's start with the effects. So ambient occlusion, This is about fake shades in between objects. Why do we use this occlusion to create more natural ambience in those games? So rather than such a look, I can add some more shade, and then I can use the ambient occlusion. There's scalable and multi-scale. Scalable uses less source and gives you smoother ambient occlusion, and multi-scale consumes the source more and applies maybe fake shadows and shades everywhere. So you can see how it is distributed, how intense it is, the thickness. You can set the thickness, modify accordingly, and this goes the same for the coloring. So to give that ambient look, you will be using a black. It looks better this way. So this is what ambient occlusion is. As I said before, it helps you create some fake shades and shadows. And I will go now to the other one, the second one. The second effect is auto exposure. But before that, I will be talking about some other things. Here I can turn on and off the effects, and over here as well. And when I say on, all aspects, all features of the effects will appear, or I can click or unclick them and include those I'm interested. So when I say all, it will add all effects and so on. So this is the same for all effects, and there's three dots. And if I click on those three dots, let's say that I have my effects, I did my arranging, and I want to use it, let's say, for some other profiles, then I can copy the profile and then go to the other profile and paste. So the settings there will be copied on the other profile. So it's very easy. Or I can say reset, and all the settings will be reset. They'll go back to the original, and then I can, over my profile, have all those effects added, removed. So let's come back to auto exposure. Here you can see its settings. It's an automatic exposure exposing effect. So the black points look blacker, white points look whiter. So here we use the gamma lights. We can change the gamma lights. Here, if you want a brighter look, then you can reduce, decrease, or increase according to what you want. And here I would like to apply some slight brightness. So this is auto exposure. It is to do with the gamma lights of the computer, and it's an auto exposure effect, and it's an automatic exposing effect, and a bloom effect. This is blooming. If you want some neon like effect, have some shine, and then you can use the bloom effect. You can increase its intensity, its and also its threshold. You can see how soft the light is, and you can see also the diffusion, increase and decrease that, intensity threshold, and soft knee. And here you see the diffusion. Do you want it diffused in a larger area, or do you want it diffused in smaller pieces? So you can change that setting over here, and you can also choose the color. You can apply different colors. Here in this effect, as I said before, this is about blooming, and it helps you create a neon light effect. Maybe you can use this effect in your games if you wish. So the other effect is chromatic aberration. Generally speaking, this is rather used in car games if I'm going too fast, or if there's that feeling of drunkenness, or let's say that the player is feeling drunk or is poisoned. So you can apply this effect. There are a couple of settings. One is its intensity. You can increase and decrease that. Here on the sides, on these edges of this screen, you will see some color spectrums. They are smoother or not, depending on the intensity you set. As the car goes faster, this is maybe to be increased to match with the timing. And here we also have the fast mode. If I uh, take that, it will be sharper, those transitions among colors. And as compared to the other, the image is clearer. And when I remove that tick on fast mode, it will change. So as I said before, in some car races and so on, car games, you can use that. Another effect is color grading. We use it almost in all games. In almost all games, we use that um, effect, and there are many aspects, many features of this effect. So this project is not an HDR project, it's an LDR project. So here we don't use the gamma color range. So as we are using LDR, low definition range, here you can see the white. If I apply more temperature for its balance, will change. If I reduce, if I decrease it, it's colder. If I increase it, it gives a warmer look. So if you set it to 15, it will be warmer. And here it says tint in between green to lilac. So it helps you to transit in between those color scale. I can um, filter accordingly. Maybe I will filter it with blue, and this way you can filter. So using any color, you can do the filtering. and I will go back to white. And here we have the hue shift. It is to do with different hues of colors. Here, maybe there are some spaces in orange, and I can go and make it pinker. If I want to do some changes, make some changes about the hues of the colors, I can. It can be to do with an animation or a transition. So depending on timing, you can play around with the hues of the colors and shift accordingly. Here you can also see saturation. I'm talking about these in detail because this part is important, and these are some settings we use for mini games very frequently. It helps with better looks. Here we have the saturation. It's to do with how the colors are saturated. If I increase it, the yellows will be yellower, reds will be redder. So the colors will be more vivid, vivacious, if you will. And when I increase that, the colors will be more saturated, more obvious, striking. But when I reduce, it will go towards gray, towards black and white. And here, maybe it's towards the end of the game, you can do some settings as such on saturation. I will bring it down to 0. Maybe it can be also 15. Here I have brightness, so it's like the brightness on your phones. You can decrease and increase the brightness levels. 15, well, 15 will be better. Here you can also do some changes on the contrast. So just a little bit of it, maybe 5, it will be okay. Here you have the channel mixer. So blue is the color in my screen, my scenes, and how should red and green, blue react to one another, and how intense should they be, each one of them. So if I wanted to be more blue, then I will increase it. And here it's more blue. And in games, generally daylight is used, and generally speaking, we see yellow on such games more and more on screens. And this is another one. This is the track ball. I can also make some arrangements over here. I can go towards yellow or orange, so it will be better maybe for this game. This is what this setting is like. As I said before, I apply it almost in all games to have some brighter and vivid colors. So I now can say that we call all of these a color correction, all of these. And the other effect is a depth of field. So we're running out of time. As I said before, it helps concentrating on some other areas, and it helps with blurring. So depth of field, it places a focal point and helps you arrange the distance in between the camera and the character. Maybe some other places here, these areas are blurry. And it's now more clear.
So I want users not to be tired. So I can change the blurriness. I can just set it according to my taste. These are used a lot, in the games. Another effect is called drain. I just select the all. Grain, I'm not sure if you can just follow it. In front of the camera, it creates grains in front of the camera as if it is a scene from a movie. You feel like as if it is a scene from a movie. You can increase the intensity. You can as well change the size and the colors. And you can as well set the luminance value. These are the games with story. You can use the grain if you like to create such an impact. Another effect is lens distortion. Yes, here you would see the settings. I increase the lens distortion. So it is exactly like we are looking from the keyhole of a door. So we can adjust it according to our own taste. You can use different effects to give the sense of looking at via the binoculars or telescope or the keyhole. There are a few settings you can approach it, and as well you can just look the lens closer and as well with a distance. So you can just set the positions, you can change the settings, and here you would see the narrowing down on the basis of X and Y. You can set if it shall be too much or less. You can increase the intensity or decrease it. Well, you can, as I've said, use this distortion if you'd like to give the effect of looking through binoculars. Another effect is motion blur. This effect is for the moving games, the games with a lot of actions. In this stage, if I am to turn my camera to the right on the left side of the stage, you would see the blurriness, and you can, by the way, set the angle for that. This is the angle. Let me show it to you. So it has to be actually a scene with actions. So I just turn my camera to the left, and on the very up corner, please look at the objects. There are different objects and they look all blur. If I move the camera like that, you would see that the blurriness is increasing. Let me increase it a little bit more. You see, when I just turn it off, you would see that it looks even better. And this is used a lot for the car race, by the way. If you have objects that are moving really fast, you can select this effect. Another effect is called screen space reflections. This feature, by the way, we are using an LDR projection, so that's why it's not valid right now. However, this effect is creating a reflection on the games. Well, just think of a water reflection or a bright glass reflection. If you are to make such an effect, we can just use this. It is an updated version. We have the ray tracing technology on games, so it's very similar to that. The player or the other objects on the water or on the mirror, well, how we want them to be reflected, blur or clear. Screen space reflection helps us to set it truly. And finally, vignette. This is my last effect. I just turn it on totally. So just think of all Turkish movies. You know, this is such an effect, or just a scene in a movie. In between the scenes, this type of effects are used mostly. It's just like a transition, you know, changing one place to another place. I can, by the way, change the color. I can increase or decrease the intensity. And also I can change the round smoothness. Even I can make it sharper or round. So here as well, I set the effect related to the roundness. I can make it square if I want. So this is a frame that I'm trying to set. I have my own texture. I can use the regular colors in here, but also I can use masking myself, and I can change it. Let me show you an example. Here I'm using a filter in front of my camera, and this is how it looks. So this is called masked. I can just select the mask that I want. These are the texture that you can just select. So this is all I was planning to explain. If you do have any questions, I'll be pleased to answer. Ebru Çakar has a question, Ümit. Hypercasual, for hypercasual. Using these effects in the mobile games, would it create a performance problem? Would you recommend them? Well, I talked about the performance already. Yes, there are some effects that might impact it. Auto exposure is just one of them. These effects can really impact the performance seriously. So it's better not to use them that much. However, color grading or changing the colors, well, they would make the game more beautiful. So I think that they won't impact the performance that much, and they wouldn't create any problem regarding the performance. Okay, a question. You said that income is really important. Generating a hyper-casual game, how much would it cost? It depends on the number of the users. How many thousand people would see the advertisement? Average cost changes from one person to another person, so I cannot really answer to that question. Okay, another question. Advertisement strategy for the games. For the hyper casuals, the most tiring thing for the users is the advertisements. Just think of the playtime. Well, if the playtime is too long in your games, then maybe you can shove more ads. However, the playtime is, if it is not that long, then of course you can aim to increase your income, but you should be careful about not really boring the users. If the first stage is 15 seconds, for example, you can show a TV an ad, and then a user can play a little bit more, and then you can show another ad. The most important trick is not to really bore the users. Okay, thank you very much, Ümit, for your contribution and for the presentation. So thank you very much to Indieway, and as well to all our attendees. I wish you a healthy day. Thank you.